The signals, designations of trains. Purpose and indications of signals for marking trains. How to feed audio signals. Signals, designations of trains. The thesis of the lecture, train alarm system. Initially, traffic lights, more precisely semaphore, signaling was created to regulate the movement of trains. First of all, this meant allowing or prohibiting a train to enter a shortened section of track in order to prevent trains from colliding with a rolling stock or entering a train on an unprepared road, and often just for the purpose of instructing the train to leave the station at a certain time or delay. On the basis of this, train traffic light signaling was further developed. Therefore, the very first basic indications of the train traffic light alarm: stop, how to get banned, and travel are allowed. It was also naturally assumed that the exact location of the traffic lights indicated the points beyond which the train should not stop at the forbidding indication. The first method was quite simple and cheap to implement, but inconvenient and expensive to operate, especially in heavy traffic. It consisted in the fact that after driving on a section without signals at high speed, approaching the signal and not yet seeing its readings, the driver had to simply slow down in accordance with visibility in order to be able to brake in front of the signal if it was closed. To indicate that the train was approaching the signal, special signal signs were used, placed at certain distances from the signal. In the German and the Russian tradition, they had the form of rectangular vertical white plates with oblique stripes with a number of from 1 to 3, 4. The plate with one lane was placed at a distance of the braking distance with some addition, and with 2, 3, and sometimes 4 lanes in front of it. At some equal intervals, for example 100 meters, the road signs familiar to a motorist before moving are quite characteristic, almost direct descendants of those signs, and differ from them only in the color of the stripes and the size of the. The same was done with the output signals of stations. If they were installed at all, permission to leave for the stage was often given by oral order, either in the form of a note or passing baton, or by manual visible signal from the station attendant. The train was supposed to stop anyway, or at least slow down a lot at the station. It is clear that this was not as suitable for all stations. After all, many trains did not need to stop at the station, and the extra loss of time when crawling to the input signal not only increased travel time but also reduced throughout, since it delayed the release of the stage and permission to send the next train there, and of course led to fuel overspending for extra acceleration. Therefore, another method was soon adopted, which is another basis for most modern railway signaling systems. It consisted in using warning signals located, like the above described signs, at the distance of the braking distance, while the signs themselves were often also used, in turn to warn the driver about approaching the warning signal so that he did not miss it. For example, during fog, rain, blizzard, the warning signal directly informs the driver of the indication of the main signal. However, the driver must assume that the state of the main signal will not change since he passed the warning signal and has not yet seen the indication of the main signal. Of course, there are no restrictions on opening the main signal at such a moment, and the driver should perceive such a situation as normal, although this is inconvenience. But closing the open signal before the train, although possible, indicates some probably emergency situation, and of course does not exclude the passage of the signal by train, since braking distance may not be enough. It is obvious that the appearance of the indications warning signal shall be clearly distinguishable from the main readings. The indication warning about the forbidding should be particularly different from the forbidden one, while it is relatively acceptable to make the permitting and warning about the permitting indication relatively similar. but still they must differ at this stage of alarm development in order not to create confusion, because an open input signal, for example, initially required at a stop at the station. Initially, warning signals were installed before the entrance signals of stations and signals of manual or semi-automatic roadblocks on the stages. Later, to ensure through the passage through the station without unnecessarily reducing the speed, warning signals were also placed at the entrance to the station, usually next or together with the input signal. Similarly did and appeared the system interlock or a separate warning signal, each supplied with the main signal, or more frequently due to frequent location signals almost at distant stopping distance, warning signal combined on the same mast with the previous main signal. It is clear that it was impossible to extend the warning signal even further beyond the previous main one, since this would cause confusion about which signal this warning signal belongs to. The signal is allowed to pass, the next signal is open. Testimony of those signals that are the meaning and the interdependence were not associated with each other. That is, detached warning signals and fundamental signals giving information on indication next main signal. For example, when the next signal for many miles could either remain distant from the new combined signals or to unify with them in accordance with the common sense, and the difference was only in the external design or the marking signal. In those alarm systems where this was done, it became possible to also enter a longer warning about a closed signal not at the next one but after the signal, simply entering another reading and not increasing the number of signals themselves on one mast. This makes it possible to either increase the speed without changing their overall arrangement of signals, or at constant trace speed, reduce the lengths of block sections by almost 2 times, while at the same time slightly reducing the minimum possible inter-train interval. Thus, in this aspect, traffic light semaphore alarm systems can be divided into 2 fundamentally different types, with the preservation of separate warning signals installed at the main signal with combined indications. Thank you for your attention.